Martinez, some bitter minds would have been happy if we quickly forgot about you and the vices you denounced while you were still alive. But be rest assured, your brutal killing is not going to go in vain. We are going to continue paying homage to you until all of them have been brought to book, finally. Good evening to all of you viewers of Equinoxe Television. We thank you so much for always being with us on this edition of the news. We begin right away with our magistraries. As usual, every evening is the act of reporting on murder or assassination cases while investigations are going on. Unprofessional in journalism, reporting on murder cases from when the incident occurred to when judgment is passed is no novelty to the profession. And reports from, we will be telling you more in this edition of the news. And reports from Boya says 2 police officers kidnapped by separatist fighters have been released following a negotiation. What was the negotiation all about, and who were those involved in the negotiation process? Details in just a moment, so stay with us. Welcome back, viewers. We thank you so much for always according us your time every evening for the news in the English language. Now we begin with this element from the Southwest Regional Headquarters of Boya. The successful liberation of 2 police officers by the head of the Southwest Human Rights Commission has left many people thinking that a true dialogue could bring an end to the Anglophone crisis in the Northwest and the Southwest regions. Mr. Christopher Tambetiko, who negotiated for the release of the police officers Gideon Tikum and Onoren at Equinoxe, says dialogue is the only way out of the Anglophone crisis. Let's now have more with Smanjik and Gabriel.
According to the Post Weekender newspaper of Thursday, March 2, 2023, it says, Tambetiku secures the release of 2 police officers kidnapped by Amber Boys. The Post Weekender newspaper says, the Southwest head of Cameroon Human Rights Commission, Christopher Tambetiku, was in Douala when Pseudo General Sagat of Ekona called to inform him about the kidnap of 2 police officers, Gideon Tikum and Honorain.
At about 11 a.m., I received a call from General Sagat informing me that he has arrested 2 officers from the Judicial Police at Lisoka. They had apparently gone there for a locus, and surprisingly, General Sagat's boys were there. And while they were struggling to take photo of the building which they had come to evaluate on the nature of destruction, that was when they got intercepted by the boys and questioned them why they were there. They were not putting on their uniforms. The young boys identified the way the officers had firearms with them, immediately grabbed them.
The human rights advocate who couldn't make it at the time he was given will finally arrive in Ekona at the hideout of these separatist fighters.
The bike was there waiting for me, and they asked me to climb the bike. I climbed for the first time for after 28 years. I've never climbed on the bike. When I got there, it was a very, very sad situation. But I had to be very tactical not to create any outrage with them. I went there for negotiation, and they started attacking me that way of the government bench, this is what we do, and so on, frustrating them. I said, no, I am neutral. I'm neutral. Their guns were seized. Even when I tried to negotiate, they said no. That one was out of the question. They were not going to get to that.
Where after intense negotiation, we saw him kneeling down to beg, the 2 police officers were finally released. The guns of these officers were seized by the separatist fighters, while they were also badly beaten and injured. The exploits of the head of the Human Rights Commission in the Southwest region, Christopher Tambetiku, has been hailed by many who are now asking questions. What is making it difficult to free the president of the Northwest House of Chiefs, Von Yakum Kevin Yuve, who was picked up on December 7, 2021, and the 5 divisional delegates who still remain missing till date in Ekondo Titi after they were taken by alleged separatist fighters.
And now in the excerpt which comes up next, the head, Christopher Tambeti, who is the head of the Human Rights Commission for the Southwest region, believes that if the government shows sincere and concrete actions on the ground in the two English-speaking regions of Cameroon, peace would definitely return to the Northwest and the Southwest regions. Let's now listen to him in this excerpt.
Not yet there, because we have not embarked on any conflict management plan. Unless we adopt such a plan, then we can start going out to mapping out the actors. At the same time, we don't undermine anybody, because if you leave out some people, they have the ability to undermine any resolution that you come up with, so that it will not yield any purpose. And that was exactly what happened in the Grand National Dialogue, that some people were left out, and they are the people who are undermining all the achievements that were attained in the Grand National Dialogue. The people who are actually taking part in this conflict can sit with us and talk, and probably they'll have the opportunity of expressing themselves not regionally, even globally, so that we understand that these are their concerns. So when we provide a safe corridor where we can negotiate for this, I think that it is a way forward, and we can now look at other aspects which we can negotiate. I don't think it is difficult to say at the end of the day we'll be able to see light at the end of the tunnel. No, we'll be able to shake hands. We are Cameroonians. This matter can only be resolved amongst ourselves, but we must be forthcoming. We must be forthcoming. I think the responsibility is now on the government to engage in actions that are sensible enough on the ground to diffuse the tension that is already on the ground.
And still in relation to violence in the Northwest and the Southwest regions, Amnesty International condemns the government of Cameroon for its continuous violation of rights of people to peacefully assemble and speak freely. The rights group urges the Cameroonian authorities to respect the African Charter on Human Rights and other international rights conventions it ratified. Innocent as I read through the most recent communique of Amnesty International, and he now compiled this report for the news.
Amnesty International in the outing states that since 2016, the Cameroonian authorities have been imprisoning hundreds of persons simply for peacefully exercising their rights to freedom of expression and peaceful assembly. The rights group cites, for example, 5 journalists as well as 62 people who protested at demonstrations organized by the CRM party. He adds that hundreds of others were also arrested during peaceful protests against the perceived discrimination of Anglophones, with many of the detained individuals convicted by military courts on charges that criminalize freedom of expression and peaceful assembly in violation of international human rights standards. According to Amnesty International, authorities in Cameroon have violated the African Charter on Human Rights and People's Rights and the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, which they ratified. It also sees Cameroonian authorities as violators of the International Convention for the Protection of All Persons from Enforced Disappearance, to which Cameroon is a signatory. Amnesty International attributes this to the arbitrary arrest and detention of peace activist and Muslim scholar Abdul Karim without charges since August 11, 2022. The rights group says he was interrogated about a video he made on July 9, 2022, denouncing a Cameroonian military chief for allegedly torturing civilians. Amnesty International calls on the Cameroonian authorities to either charge Abdul Karim Ali and 2 others with a recognizable criminal offense, or immediately release them if the denunciation was reason for their arrest because it violates the freedom of expression right. The report notes that the 3 men appeared before the military court in Yaoundé twice since their transfer to the State Secretariat for Defense, said in November 2022, but have never been presented before the state prosecutor. Abdul Karim Ali's close family have been forced into hiding after receiving threats to anonymous calls, according to Amnesty International. The calls warned Karim's wife not to alert people outside Cameroon about his situation. and asked her to bring her husband and family's passports to the military who were detaining Abdul Karim. This is not the first time the Muslim scholar has been arrested and detained in relation to his activism. On September 2019, he was arrested and taken to the set where he was held, initially without access to a lawyer, for 5 days before finally released without charge weeks later. Meantime, Amnesty International urges Cameroon as a state party to the Rights Convention to refrain from acts which will defeat the object and purpose of a treaty.
And now, talking about insecurity, we take you to the nation's political capital, Yaoundé, where the population of Mvan in Yaoundé complain of rising insecurity in that area. Lately, a recent case has been that of a young lady, Yasmin Aishatu, who was kidnapped alongside her kids by yet-to-be-identified men. Our reporter, Lucy Liengu Ese, now tells us more about the insecurity or security situation in Yaoundé.
This young lady by name Yasmin Aishatu and her kids, Sherifa 3 years old, Abdul Fatu 1 year 3 months, were being kidnapped. According to a close family member, Yasmin was abducted by unidentified men at Van Vombi in Yaoundé. He says Aishatu left Douala on Monday around 2 p.m. and arrived Yaoundé around 10 p.m. She called her husband, who was expecting her at Vombi roundabout, but unfortunately, she never arrived. As per investigations, it is said the young lady was on her way to visit her mom when the unfortunate incident.
Amnesty International in the outing states that
when the unfortunate incident happened.
Une fois qu'elle a emprunté le taxi avec ses 2 enfants, un passager aurait sorti.
It seems when she got a taxi, a passenger who was in hypnotized her by pouring a liquid on her and her kids. That's how she slept. When she woke up, she found herself in an unknown environment. Immediately, she called her mom to explain what happened, but the call ended.
Et pendant qu'elle est en train d'expliquer à sa maman ce qui lui est arrivé, l'appel s'est interrompu.
According to the inhabitants of Van Vombi, insecurity has been fast gaining grounds in the locality. We have these guys who do away with people's phones, who threaten people. Here in Van, there is a lot of insecurity. Passengers are not safe. They are being maltreated. They are being brutalized. No security. We need security to be reinforced. Every time passengers come, it's either they are crying or they are shouting. The population complain they fear the worst in the days ahead if security is not reinforced. They call on authorities to respond to their plights.
Hopefully that lady and her kids are found. And also we got information today that a Catholic priest was found dead somewhere in the nation's political capital, Yaoundé. His corpse was found far away from where he worked. We are following that information and we shall be bringing to you details in our subsequent news editions. And now we take you to the far north regions of Cameroon. Nigerian refugees and other communities in the far north region affected by the Boko Haram attacks have been facing several challenges such as health issues and also poverty. To improve on the living conditions of these vulnerable people, the Refugee Service together with the UN came to their assistance, as Mala Glory tells us in the report which comes up next.
To alleviate poverty, improve on their health, and to ensure the well-being of this class of people was the objective of a workshop held in the far north region of Cameroon. These are Nigerian refugees who have fled the Boko Haram hostilities and also the local population of the far north region who are victims of the Boko Haram attacks.
We know all what happened to the refugees from the creation of this camp. It was the Boko Haram that chased us away from our places, and we leave many things behind.
The Refugee Association, in partnership with the United Nations High Commission for Refugee, also have as main objective to empower these vulnerable persons. a partnership which, according to the governor's representative, is yielding fruit.
I want to say that this partnership, as far as the JC Refugee Service is concerned, has done so well in other parts of Cameroon, and especially the extreme north. We want to thank the Jesuit Refugee Service to have thought of the refugee population, the internally displaced population, and the local population of the extreme north as far as their autonomization and their social inclusion in the society is concerned.
A sum of about 10 billion francs CFA has been placed at the disposal of these communities touched by security crisis to invest in health, education, governance, peace and social cohesion.
And now, viewers, we move on to one of our lead stories reporting on murder cases after the incident happens while waiting for court judgment is not new at all in journalism. The media, which is the voice of the voiceless and the agenda setter, has as duty to inform and even educate the masses whenever there is a void. And let's now get to see how journalists and other media houses in other advanced countries report on assassination or murder cases during investigations pending court judgments with Immaculate Fogwe.
Media organs, including Equinoxe Radio and Television, reporting on the Martinez Zogo case, are currently being intimidated by the government of Cameroon. In a communique dated March 1, 2023, government spokesman Rene Manuel Sadi says no one has the right to disseminate information on a case that is still being investigated upon. Citing the murder case of journalist Martinez Zogo, the minister says Article 102, Line 1 of the Penal Code states that information gotten during investigations are sacred and so should not be aired. He says only elements of the judicial police working on the case have the right to say something on it, and that is only after getting permission from the state prosecutor. Following the reaction of the government, one is left to think the government is censoring the press. With a worldview of how such cases are treated, we fell on the media treatment of investigation related to the assassination of a student by top administrative personnel in Liberia.
Play by play as things unfold here at the headquarters of the Liberia National Police. So right there, as you can see, not so much of activities happening. We have our guys on the standby. Once we see Mr. Tele, whether he will come alone or he will be accompanied by his legal representatives, that is to be seen. But let's get this straight. Mr. Tele has not been declared a suspect by the LNP. No, he has only been declared a person of interest, and there are several factors that can lead to a person being considered a person of interest according to law enforcement and criminal justice, or what is going to escalate from you being a person of interest turning into a suspect by law enforcement, and subsequently, if you are convicted of that crime, being termed as a perpetrator. So at this stage, Mr. Teller is just a person of interest. He has not been declared a suspect.
Another case is that of a Saudi Arabian journalist, Jamal Khashoggi, a strong critic who was tortured and later assassinated. Constant media coverage of the investigation related to his assassination could be seen on different newspapers such as the Daily Mail, Liberation, The Times and France Info. The intervention of the press led to the arrest of 5 individuals who were sentenced to death for committing and directly participating in the murder of the victim. Investigative journalists are known to have played an important role in identifying and exposing corruption and crimes. Reporting such issues helps to keep the public abreast with how the case is unfolding and also ensuring that justice is rendered.
Meanwhile, legal minds and also media men say the press has been doing a great job at reporting on the Martinez Zogo murder case and should be saluted instead. Legal minds say they should not be intimidated as they are in line with the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, one of them being the right to information. For me, Armstrong Sanders spoke with a legal mind here in Douala and also people of the media. He now compiled this report for the news.
This outing, according to media men and women in Cameroon, is not proper.
I'd say it's not even the least correct because even in Europe, when investigations are going on, the public deserves the right to know exactly what is happening. And I think media organs, including Equinoxe, that has been on the ground for minute-by-minute updates, are simply doing their job. Now, the issue would have been the terminology used by the media, and that's what the Minister of Communication would have been able to put in his communique. But I think if I look at the reports that have been coming out of recent, including that of Equinoxe, we only get statements that are but normal, that it is alleged, that they are accused, you know. So they have not said that these are the people who have carried out, but they accused, it is alleged that. So the current investigation going on report. So the Minister of Communication threatening to sanction media organs reporting on that, I think is not too good.
Journalists say the media has not failed in its responsibility to keep Cameroonians updated on the investigation linked to the assassination of journalist Martinez Zogo. To journalist Far Elvis Tayong, the media on this case should instead be saluted.
I think I would say that the media has done a lot, specifically pointing fingers to Equinoxe. I would tell you that amongst all the media organs, without bragging, people have been able to get feet by feet. That is why I have been equally telling others that what Equinoxe is doing, and Guy Zogo and the crew out in Yaoundé, is letting the public have first-hand information.
Like media men and women, a legal mind says journalists are not direct actors in the investigation. Thus, the threat of the minister is misplaced.
Okay, and normally with a high-profile case like that, the media, they are supposed to have daily updates of what's going on in the case. Like we see in America, they always give us daily updates with cases, high-profile cases going on in America. That should be the case too in Cameroon, because under international human rights law, the International Covenant of Civil and Political Rights, everybody has the right to information. Citizens have the right to be informed. But the government is not really doing that. The government is informing Cameroonians, yes, but they are not really informing Cameroonians on a daily basis. Like the State Council or the Commissaire de Gouvernement who is in charge of the case was supposed to be giving daily updates.
Without a specific time frame, the communications minister and government spokesperson said the result of the investigation prescribed by the head of state will be known in due course.
And now we move on to this advertorial from our partners of MTN Cameroon. MTN Cameroon compensates its faithful subscribers in the southwest region of the country. In a campaign at the Modiko Municipal Stadium, several prizes were won by MTN